in with director George Huang. Congratulations yet again. Please join me in welcoming Luke Evans, who plays John. We also have son Kang, who plays Huang. And finally, we have Wyatt, who plays Raymond. Many questions for all of you. George, you're getting my first one here. You're going to learn this about me very quickly. I like two-part questions. And I love asking this one about the development of the story. Can you tell us all what idea number one was, the thing that started it all, but then also if you and Luke had a break story moment, something you came up with along the way that made you say, we have a whole idea for a film now?
Well, so I've had the good fortune, I've been working with Luc Besson for the last 10 years, collaborating, co-writing in different scripts, and he came to me a couple years ago with the idea, hey, I really want to do a female transporter movie set in Asia. And so it became just a question of we sat down together and started asking each other questions. Okay, she's a transporter, what is she transporting? Who is she running away from? Why is she running away? What's her deep dark secrets? You know, and then just out of that process, all this stuff started to unfold.
I feel like we might have gotten some of the answer to this and that, but what would you say is the biggest difference between draft one of this screenplay and the finished film that everyone just watched?
Well, a lot of it, when we got to Taipei, first of all, it's a beautiful place. There's a lot of gorgeous scenery, as you can see. I mean, some of that we couldn't shoot all of it, but a lot of opportunities just unfolded organically when we were there. So, for example, the final fight between Luke and Kang, we originally were going to do it out in the streets, in the back alleys, sort of a night market. But we were shooting in the summer in Taipei, and it is super hot. And so, Luc Besson and I are just wandering the streets, just trying to scout. 5 minutes into walking, we're just drenched with sweats. And I just joked to him, because I saw a movie theater across the way. I said, oh, too bad we can't do the final fight in like an air-conditioned movie theater. And he looked at me and said, why not? So, just to preserve, make all of our lives easier, we moved the whole third act into, movie theater.
Sometimes that's when you find the best stuff.
Exactly.
When things don't go according to plan.
Exactly.
I also need a whole spin-off movie about the two people who sat in that theater while they were.
Yeah, sorry, the subtitles are not on this. I don't know why. So they had a lot of fun things to say.
I love that. Luke and Son, I want to come your way now about signing on for this film, because you're both very busy guys in this industry. I imagine you have lots of opportunity at your fingertips. When this particular script comes your way, what is something about the story or the characters that made you think, like, I have something to gain from this as an actor who's always evolving my craft?
Well, I did a movie with Luke maybe 4 or 5 years ago called Anna. So we worked together once before, and we had a really great experience together. And I think the final conversation we had before I left Paris was, he said, we're going to work together again one day. And I guess I was in his head. I didn't think much of it. Directors promise a lot of things, and often they don't come back. But Luke, he kept his word, and I was in his mind, and I guess in your mind too, when they wrote this character. And when I knew that this was happening, I knew that they were writing something. Luke was always keeping me involved, and I was excited to read it. And when it came, it literally ticked every box of what I would want to watch in an action movie and what I would want to be part of in an action movie. So, yeah.
I echo what Luke said about Luc Besson. I got the opportunity to meet Luke on the set of Fast 10. He came to visit Louis Leterrier, the director of Fast 10, and we were just talking about filmmaking. One of my favorite films is The Big Blue. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see Luke's earliest films, but I think that's a cinematic masterpiece and a big part of my childhood or my high school years. And then George Huang, with Swimming with Sharks, 30 years ago, I think 95. definitely on my bucket list of directors that I wish to work with because of that film. So, I mean, those two elements were a huge draw. And also, you know, the fact that George was directing this film, I knew that at least I would be safe and be able to have this open dialogue with him, to stay away from the common tropes of an Asian bad guy. And, you know, the luxury to be able to sit down with George and Luke every morning at the hotel. They would pretty much all live together, like in a dorm, right? So at breakfast, we're able to talk about the scenes and the characters and just keep adding dimensions. So, you know, I think that just, you know, that's just such a blessing, you know, and a luxury to have, you know, as an actor, have that access with the writers and the director.
I'll build on that a little bit. Actually, with both of you, because I think it's something you do pretty well in the movie. What are some, I guess, subtle qualities of your character that you knew you needed to add so that they didn't just become the villain and the hero of the story, but they felt like fully realized people that had something to fight for?
Well, it was, it's all on the page. You want to see a well-rounded, layered character. Good guys have bad sides, and bad guys have good sides. And I think these are very relatable people. Even you, even Huang is relatable. Like, you know, he loves this woman. He's twisted and crazy, but he loves this woman. He just wants this woman. He's obsessed with this woman. And I relate to that story as well. I can understand it. It's interesting. And I think that's what's very clever about the writing is, you know, George Lucas created characters that are not just a cookie cutter, obvious version of a bad guy, protagonist and an antagonist. They are way more than that. And what I love about John Roller is, like, I think he's just a nice guy who's just not really chosen the right decisions in life. He's a bit of a mess. He's a bit jaded. He's tired. The face says everything. I mean, he's been through the wars, and I think he's missed the boat of having a family, and he's accepted that. Then all of a sudden, boom, a mother, a child, and a man who wants to kill them all. You know, and it's like he has to fight for them, and he sort of looks at life with a bit of a smirk. He has a humor. Even in the darkest moments, there's a bit of like, here we go again kind of thing. And I sort of quite like that about him. He's sort of like an everyman. I like that.
Second, he saved the fish. Like, I get and appreciate this guy.
And that's another thing, like, that's in the writing. That was in the script from the beginning. And I think it's lovely because, you know, he saves this little fish, but his son wants to save the dolphins. And they have this connection. Obviously, it's tiny detail, but I think that's what makes this action film a lot more nuanced, and there's detail like that, which, you know, I find intriguing and touching, and I appreciate that kind of detail.
I think Luke explained it well. You know, to be able to tap into this idea of a character that is so obsessed and in love with a woman, you know, that explains the why. Why is Huang such a bad guy? Why is he gonna do what he does? You know, not everybody can relate with being a drug lord and, you know, being a gangster and being this sexy, but, you know, I hope most of us can relate with being in love with someone so deeply that, you know, you would do anything to keep that person, right? So that was the North Star, and I think that's what, you know, made this bad guy interesting and unique. You know, it's a luxury to be able to, you know, explore those dimensions.
Love those qualities very much. Wyatt, I'm going to make this real awkward for you for a moment. I'm going to make the three of them talk about you for a second, because this is your first movie, and I was just so wildly impressed by how incredibly natural you are right off the bat. And there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be many, many more filmmaking opportunities for you out there if you want them. So for the three of you, can you each tell me something about Wyatt as a scene partner and as a lead in your movie that you're so excited for even more filmmakers to experience in the future?
Look at that face.
The hair, the face, I mean, everything. How can you not love this kid?
Just, yeah. I mean, working with Wyatt, I've said it many times, but there's a reality, there's a realness to Wyatt's performance. He doesn't overthink it. And for somebody who's never been on a film set and then all of a sudden is thrown into this giant, machine, you just took it in your stride and you just left Wyatt at the door and turned into Raymond every day. And it sounds simple, but it's really not easy to leave yourself out of the equation when it comes to performance. Wyatt did it just without even thinking. He just became my son. He became Joey's son, and it was fascinating and brilliant, and just so nice to have somebody so young and just embracing it in a very simplistic way, which is actually a brilliant tool. And I told him never lose it, because it's brilliant. You have it in bucket lists.
Who wants to jump in next?
Well, I mean, again, Wyatt was great, but a lot of it is, actors like playing tennis, so you're as good as your sort of partner. And, when you've got Luke and Sung to work opposite of, I remember there was one day, when, Sung was beating, Wyatt, and, there were like tears coming down Wyatt's face, and they're, oh my God, that's fantastic. How did you get there? It's like, Sung was scaring me, man. Sung was like, oh my God, where did I get this off? So when you have scene partners and, actors like Luke and Sung that you can play off of, it helps out a lot, right, Wyatt?
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice to work with young folks because they remind you what it was like when you were on a set for the first time, and every day I was just so excited because I think you didn't have to go to summer school or something. So extra excited, but it just it reminds you of why we were attracted to this this crazy business, and his just fresh perspective. And he is, I think that I give credit to his mother and father. They are also artists and thespians, so he came with already a structure or a method to the craft. So it wasn't like working with some wild kid that they just found an open hall. So I was just shocked how professional he was.
So Wyatt, you're clearly a pro right out the gate, but one of the coolest things about doing more and more movies is you get the opportunity to learn from the people you're working with every step of the way. So what's something you saw Sung and Luke do on this set that maybe you wanted to put in your back pocket so you could try on another film?
Yeah, it was really exciting to work with both these amazing actors. I know I saw Luke in playing Gaston and Beauty and the Beast, and of course in the Fast and Furious movies. So it's really cool to see them in person, and they're really nice people in person, which I did not expect. I know just me and Sung probably every other night we would go to this dumpling place called Lai Lai. And we would go there just every other night we'd walk there. And I know me and Luke, me and my family would do karaoke with him probably 5 times. He's a beautiful voice, by the way. Yeah.
So
That's awesome. It's always good to have that kind of offset experience with the folks you're with. I'm a big believer that filmmaking families shouldn't always be a priority. You pour so much of your time and your lives into these things, and having that relationship I think is important behind the scenes, and ultimately it leaps off the screen as well. And I think that's very much the case here with our core family. I want to dig into that dynamic in a moment, but we're lucky enough to be able to talk to the 3 of you right now from the cast, but May is not here, and she is absolutely phenomenal, a total powerhouse in that role. So yeah, definitely applaud her. I'll phrase it this way for the 2 of you. So it feels like this movie does not work unless you cast the perfect trio to play that family. So can you each tell me the first time that you kind of stopped, looked around at each other, and said, wow, I really am with the perfect scene partners for this dynamic?
I felt it the first scene we did, and obviously we were introduced to each other before we started filming. Got a chance to chat and have dinner and talk. and then you're in costume, and then you're on the set, and all of a sudden the camera's rolling, and you just hope to God that the chemistry naturally flows, and that we all find our place within that little dynamic. And it just happened. It just became very, very quickly. We just took our roles and owned them. And it was, I felt a protective nature around May and Wyatt, on and off the set. And we all got on. And, we were just touched on it, we're in Taipei. None of us live in Taipei. We're from lots of other places around the world. We become our own family. We create this temporary little union of people that we may not see for a very long time after the movie finishes. But that is what we have. And not often, but sometimes you get a group of people that really want to make an effort and bond. And we all did that. And like you said, when the cameras roll, you hope and pray that happens on camera, and it did. It totally did. I mean, Joey hates me for about 2 minutes of the show. I kept saying to George, I was like, when is she going to be nice? It just feels like every scene she just hates me. She's like giving me so much shit, like pushing me, and just like, okay, I'm sorry. How many more times can I say I'm sorry? But it works. It works. And when she does smile, and when she does touch my face in the car, when I say I'm going to go and meet Kang in the American alley, it's really poignant, because it's like, oh wow, she does care, and she's gone through all that with him. So yeah, it's lovely. I mean, we miss her here. We really, don't we? And I really miss her, because she's such a gracious human being, and so talented, and generous, and really good.
How about for you, Wyatt?
Yeah, I think it came really natural for all of us. I think that, obviously I have a mom somewhere over there, but I think there's a scene that really resonated with me when we were all in Popo's house sitting in the table, and at the time, obviously he's not my dad and she's not my mom, but when the camera starts rolling, I just pretend that they're my mom and my dad, and I know Luke just gave me some really good advice about filmmaking, yeah.
So I want to pose this question to the entire group, because I am very curious to see how your answers might differ based on what your character goes through. But this movie is like one ambitious set piece after the next. So when you were gearing up to film, which scene did you think was going to be the toughest for you to pull off? And ultimately, was it, or did a different one catch you by surprise?
I know which one for me. That kitchen fight. I don't know how I got through it. I do not know how I survived it. It was weeks of rehearsal in a cardboard kitchen that we built, so we could work within the parameters of what we had. That was exactly like the real kitchen. Then you turn up in the real kitchen and everything's sharp. The woks are real, and the rings are real flames, and you're like, okay, this is, and it was 2 or 3 days, I think we shot that. It was
4 days. Yep, I think it's 4 days to get there at all.
4 days of being battered, yeah. And then soaked. Yeah.
I'll follow up on that very briefly. So this is like an extremely elaborate fight sequence there. Is there any teeny tiny particular detail of the choreography that was toughest for you to master?
Well, we work with the stunt coordinator has worked on many of Luke's movies. So we were very lucky to work with an incredible team from France, and some French stuntmen who didn't speak French, and then we had a Taiwanese stunt team as well, and then we had a translator who would translate between Taiwanese, English, and French. So it was the first few days, I literally take 3 paracetamol at the beginning of the day, 3 in the middle, just to get through. It was like brain, it was like, how are we going to communicate all of this and not hurt each other, And they brought all their different styles to the table. But what we tried to do was John clearly he's a character. You can see what he can do. He's not a trained fighter. He doesn't, doesn't Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu. All the other boys are doing all that stuff. So he just does what he does and picks up a wok or a knife or what, and we brought his character very much into the choreography that he does. And that just organically grew by the days that we were rehearsing, and after 3 weeks, we had the whole thing set.
Such a good quote. I love how that leaps off the screen, particularly in that fight. Wyatt, do either of you have an example, a scene that wound up being, I guess, more challenging than you ever could have imagined it was going to be at the start?
Yeah, obviously the scene where Sung is beating the shit out of me, that was definitely the hardest scene to shoot because, like, obviously, you know, it's my first time shooting a movie, and I know, like, George gave me really good advice. He was like, he's gonna kill you, and he, like, said something like that, really, like, I really understood that when he told me that, so I just started crying, and yeah, that was probably the hardest scene to shoot, yeah.
I thought that scene was going to be very hard, but it actually came really naturally. Actually, my favorite scene. Any scene I've ever did in any film. As I get older, all the action stuff becomes harder and harder, right? So, I knew it was going to be hard, and it turned out to be harder. But I give credit to our amazing stunt team. They put their blood, like literally blood, broken bones, and hearts into that. So they deserve the credit. We get to come and play, and they go home and
Ice bath.
yeah.
Well worth all their hard work. You see it all reflected on the screen, and it's something else. George, I'm not leaving you out with this question, especially from the directing perspective. I want the scene that you thought would be the most difficult to film, and then the scene that wound up being the most difficult.
Yeah, I mean, surprising. Look, as a director, you're always terrified. You think every day, oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare. We're always facing some obstacle. Our first day of filming was supposed to take place inside Popo's house, but the set burned down. And so all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So we're scrambling, and so every day it's just like going, okay, what disaster are we going to have to face today? But again, when you have Luke and Virginia Bisson as your producers, they've done it, they've seen it all before, and like Sung said, it would be great. We'd be in the hotel, we'd meet in the morning. I'd be going, oh my God, the weather is like it's horrible. We can't afford to be like Terrence Malick and wait for the perfect light. And then Luke would literally say, oh, I did a movie with Terrence Malick. I produced Tree of Life, and he'd tell us an anecdote that would just, not only show you how we're gonna get through the day, but just calm you down. And so, I always thought all of them were gonna be hard, but again, having the incredible cast, the crew that we had, and having, Luke and Virginia Bisson in your corner, it helps out a lot. It really does.
That'll pave the way to my last question quite nicely, because I just love hearing collaborators give each other flowers. So for each of you, whether it was a member of the cast or the crew, can you each recall a time someone did something on the set of this movie that made you stop and go, that is something else, and I'm so proud of you?
Yeah, I know that May, probably like once a week, she would come to set and give us a present, whether it was like a mug or whether it was like some like cookies. She'd always just come to set with something to give, and that's what. Yeah, she's a really kind soul, and yeah, I would say on set she was like my second mother.
Beautiful answer.
I would say daily, it was George. George, I call him Happy Buddha. I just want to go up to him and rub his belly. On a film set, especially in a foreign country, people speaking different languages and weather, the unknown. There's always something, and when the leader is always level-headed and always positive, always. I never heard George complain. I never saw him or heard him point fingers. Even to this day, is a special person. And sometimes you on the set or in life, you learn what not to do from the leaders. But with George, every day I'm around him, I learn what to do and what kind of human being to be. So.
That another beautiful answer. I have to follow up with one silly one. Does George have a monitor dance? Something he does behind the monitor that signals to you he's really loving a take?
He just, you know, his voice gets us in a lot of trouble. He's so loud. You know, whenever the first evening that we all hung out at the night market, his laugh is so loud. We almost got in a fight, right? Like, it's so loud, it's offensive.
Somebody at the restaurant started to tell us to shut up.
Yeah.
Because
It was
he's
my laughing, they
so,
accused
his
me,
laugh.
yeah, these loud and not just foreigners.
Yeah, they're trying to eat,
Yeah.
the family's trying to eat their steak nice and they're like, whoa! It's just a shake. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Do people not like joy? What's wrong with them?
Well, again, to just follow up on what Tony said, I mean, look, there's nothing to complain about when you're working with a cast like this, and making a movie like this, every day is like a happy day. It's great. It's just, you always like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe we're actually doing this. I can't believe I'm working with Luke Evans, with Kang, and Wyatt, and Luke Besson. It's just like, oh my God, I still don't believe it's real. I think I'm gonna wake up from some weird coma because that guy in the restaurant beat the crap out of me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, it was just all a dream. Crap.
That's not a movie idea. Luke, you want to take us home on this one?
On a film set, there's a lot of people that you never meet. You never hear their names or you never see them, but without them, we can't make movies, and they are the people behind the camera. And they're often the people you spend the most time with. You're there in the morning in the chair. It's the hair and makeup, the wardrobe, the people that are around you all day long, making sure you look the way you look, making sure your hair is nice and the blood's in the right place and the clothes are, just about hanging on. And you spend a lot of time with them. And my team, they were all young Taiwanese girls. One didn't speak any English, and did my hair every day, and I learned a little something every day with them. And they were the people I remember. And when I think of my experience, I remember these three girls who, that's from Taipei, that were with me every single day, wherever we were, on top of a mountain, or in the back of a car, or in a Chinese restaurant next to a fish tank. They were always next to me. And, I always remember that group that I'm always solid with.
I love it. Filmmaking families. I'll always shout those out. Before this gets drowned out by applause, I will ask everyone here to just stay seated because they've got some more promoting and celebrating to do after. And also, I'm going to remind everybody, Weekend in Taipei comes out on November 8th. So spread the word. The more you spread the word about movies like this, the more movies like this we get. So make sure to do your homework after you leave this theater today. I'm going to say huge congratulations and thank you for sharing some of your experience making it with us.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you.
Oh my god, you're just